Offerpad wants you to move into a new home in 24 hours, and more bad news about vaping. Tune in to Toole Time right now. I'm Tom Toole. She is Jess Lion, and we are back on Toole Time with some follow-up, some more news about iBuyers.
Yeah.
So why don't we start with I guess it's kind of local. It started local, where there was some news that just came out, and it was regarding vaping. Pennsylvania has reported 17 vaping-related lung disease cases, and there's another 30 that are being investigated right now. This is a follow-up to an issue that we found was prevalent in a lot of
High
schools. Yeah, high schools.
You're talking about the Juul.
Yeah, the Juul, same thing, right? And so now there is documentation that vaping is causing lung cancer. Jess, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, 6 confirmed deaths. It's pretty scary, and I don't want to be like, I mean, we talked about this. I told you so. But what's more concerning about
But you're saying
this,
I told you so? Is that what you're doing here?
I mean, yeah, my big concern here is I feel like back in the day, smoking was looked upon as cool, and that kind of got like washed out, especially when I was in high school. It was not cool to smoke. Like, I did not smoke. No, very little people actually smoked cigarettes in my high school, at least. And I feel like now with this whole like Juul and like carts and all these, I don't know, vaping things, I don't even know what they are, it makes it look cool again. And advertisements are actually making them really appealing, saying they're like Sour Patch Kids flavor or like Runts flavor, and that would be appealing to me if I was a kid. So a lot of these cases, I heard that the average age of a lot of the reports were 19-year-old kids like getting inflicted with these diseases. That's scary, and it's because it's easy to access and it's making it look really cool, and that should not be the case. I think it should be as uncool as smoking an actual cigarette.
So
and not just cool, like it's not healthy.
Well, I mean, being nice is cool. A lot of people didn't used to think that. So, I mean, and you know, the health and vitality is such an important thing right now, and a lot of people didn't realize this. I mean, you look at, you used to be able to smoke on airplanes and in hospital rooms. So obviously, yeah, but there was a lot of big money behind the health studies that got, I mean, this is back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, very different time then, and it's all about who was influencing the government. So now what they're finding here, and I want to just give you some hard stats here and facts. So the 17 patients that were hospitalized, linking to vaping, another 30 cases being investigated. The initial findings indicate that many of them vape products containing recreational marijuana and other unregulated products with THC. So, and then when you go further, the CDC reported that there were 300 confirmed or probable cases from 36 states, and that's down from the 450 that were reported the week before. So there's a lot of people this is affecting right now. And the issue that's happening right now is there's not enough data behind this. They don't have the studies because this is so new. So the president, the Trump administration, is pursuing a ban to remove flavored e-cigarettes, including menthols and like mint products from the marketplace. And the CDC still hasn't reached any definitive conclusions about the vaping products used in the lung disease cases. So the issue that's happening is what I've heard is this stuff's a lot more concentrated than what was in a cigarette, and it's not from the legal dispensaries in Pennsylvania for medical marijuana. These are off-market products that aren't regulated by the state.
Regulated, no.
So the fundamental issue here is the lack of regulation from the government agencies. There's a reason why you can only buy certain types of wine, beer, and alcohol because, like, that's why moonshine's illegal, right? I mean, because it's so highly concentrated. It's the same fundamental issue. So until the government and the governing bodies here, they get a handle on this, I mean, people really need to be careful about what they're doing to themselves because while it might be fun or obviously, people use these things, they got their vices, whatever, the concern I have is that there's people dying right now and
so young.
Well, and the issue is that when they vape, what I've seen is that it's so concentrated, but it also isn't the same feeling as when you smoke a cigarette. It's a lot different.
Really?
Well, people say it doesn't. I mean, it can actually die down a little bit from people that I've heard have used it. So the obvious answer here is that I love to see the Trump administration pursuing a ban to removing flavored e-cigarettes, because that's where a lot of this starts, and that's what a lot of these kids are doing. So my hope is this continues and the data gets out there and the word gets out how bad this is for you.
Yeah, I 100% agree with the ban. And I would like to see a little bit more research done. I mean, it kind of sounds like, okay, well, everybody's getting, sick and people are even dying, and there wasn't enough research done. I feel like I was reading the article, and it was saying something about it's not, it's because of an overexposure to like this chemical, vitamin E acetate or something like that. I mean, and we were even talking about it in one of the last episodes we did with the Juul. You're getting so much more exposure. Yes, you don't have the tobacco from like an actual cigarette, but the amount of nicotine and chemical that you're being put into your body, I feel like there hasn't even been any research as to what that's going to do to you. So I would like to see more of that done, and definitely the ban.
Yeah, and what they did, this actually happened last week. The FDA ordered Juul to change the labeling and advertising on its vaping products within 15 days. And they're saying they have a lower post-health risk than traditional tobacco, which is unproven. And the FDA is looking at that as deceptive. So, these are big businesses. This is the same thing the cigarette and the tobacco companies went through when they became very heavily regulated. They didn't even have reports out there telling you how bad it was at the time. So this is something where I'm glad to see there is federal action being taken, because that's the only way this is going to change, because this business is too big to regulate itself, and they're just raking in the cash. And business is fine. Health is more important.
Absolutely.
Sounds like we agree. So
I definitely agree on that one.
Offerpad. So iBuyers again, and the reason we keep talking about iBuyers is because it's so prevalent and such a big disruptor in our industry. So Offerpad came out over the weekend, and they said they want to get buyers into a new home in less than 24 hours, and that's going to debut later this year or early 2020. It's a new pilot program where buyers can move into Offerpad-owned homes in as little as 24 hours from making the offer. And they're also offering another program called Offerpad Buyer Boost to empower homeowners to make all-cash offers, very similar to that startup we talked about with Tim Heel. I think it was called Homeward. Homeward, a startup that was about keeping current homeowners and using their equity without having to buy and sell at the same time.
Yeah.
So what do you think about all this, Jess?
Well, I was reading through the article, and I understand that we are in a time where everybody wants things like instantaneously, like very fast. But when it comes to a house, I personally would not feel comfortable going and seeing a house on Wednesday and moving into it on Thursday or Friday, because there's so much more. Like, what about your inspections? I mean, and I know there's so much more that goes into it, but what about doing your due diligence? And I think it said in the article, it wasn't really clear. They can move in, and then closing could take a few more days afterwards. So a buyer is living in your house and you haven't even closed. Like, that would be like a huge red flag to me. So I just see too many holes here, and good things take time. And with such the biggest purchase of your life, you're only going to do this maybe a handful of times. Maybe pump the brakes a little bit.
Well, so Offerpad is one of these iBuyers that are out there, just like Zillow Offers, or there's a Open Door as well. So you've got all these different companies that are iBuying, which means they are buying homes sight unseen, typically at a discounted price than what they could get in the market. Some people that works, some people that doesn't. The iBuyer offer will get accepted. The range that's estimated is anywhere between 5 to 15% of the time, depending on who you talk to. So it's not the majority, no question. So then what Offerpad's doing is they're buying these homes, they're fixing them up, and then they're getting the people to move in right away. And what I see their intention is to make the process easier for people, meaning you don't have to move all at the same day, which sucks. I've seen people do it. It's miserable. You don't have to get your home sold, then go buy the new home. So that's what the Buyer Boost program is all about, where they are their second announcement was they're aimed at giving buyers more buying power. They want to Buyer Boost put Offerpad's capital to use with home buyers, and Offerpad can secure an all-cash offer for prospective buyers. So there's some other layer here. This is not a very clear article, number one, because there's going to be, the money has to come from somewhere. Like, you're not just having people move in. Right now it takes, on average, 43 days to close on a property after your offer's accepted. So they're trying to make it easier and I think eliminate the hassle of moving. What I also see happening here is you mentioned inspections, right? So they're going to have to do all their stuff up front, meaning they better have title work done, because that takes, the fastest I've ever closed a title is a week. And that was with a major rush.
2 weeks, yeah.
We did it one time in a week. It was one out of thousands of sales. So one is they would have to have all the title work done. You're probably going to have to use their title company, which is another revenue stream for them, because, so now you kind of see where this is going. Additionally, like you said, inspections, due diligence. It's nice to have the option. These homes are probably going to be fixed up a little bit. I know Zillow offers, they're estimating that when they go and turn these properties, they're putting $8,000 to $10,000 into the home. So that can't be a major, like, if you got a bad roof, maybe it's $8,000 to $10,000. If there's a but it's a lot of like painting and carpeting and that sort of stuff. So these iBuyers, they're not going away. That's what I know. This is going to continue to be a disruptor because there's a profit to be made, and because of that, there's also a demand for people that want the speed of selling their home quickly. When you look at, there's an iBuyer map that Remind did, which is a great company, and they do a lot of like predictive selling. So when you look at the iBuyer map, the only places you see a high concentration of iBuyers buying, and this is since 2016, you see some in Las Vegas, where Offerpad was. In Arizona, you have Open Door Offerpad. You have Dallas, Salt Lake City, and Tampa. And then there's a couple like one-offs here and there. But when you look at this map, there's not really many of that happening right now because these are being tested in certain markets. So it's not a lot. It's not a lot of people that this is happening to. So it makes for great news. I don't see the consumer today being that ill-informed to just jump at this and move into something like this. And there's a reason this service is out there, but the consumer is not bought in yet to the iBuyer. I think they're getting close, but that's not there yet, and that's as of the end of June.
I think this is much more targeted and would be fitting for an investor or someone like that, as opposed to someone who's looking for the home that they're going to be in for the next 7 to 10 years.
Okay.
We'll see. And I feel like all of these different iBuyer, I guess, programs or whatever they are, they're going to keep on changing until they kind of get it right. Like you're saying, it's going to be around.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is going to continue to happen. These companies aren't going away, and they got a lot of capital behind them from VCs and startups. So we'll see how this goes. This is another one you got to really watch, and it's another example of how the real estate market is drastically changing right now.
Yeah. All right, I have some inspo for us.
So what is
inspiration?
Okay.
From Oprah, and she says she's actually going.
Is everyone getting a car?
I wish she would send me a car. I would love to see her. She's going on tour next year, a wellness tour, and there's a few spots all over the country, so that would be pretty cool to check out. But she says, do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do, which really resonated with me, especially when I first started in this business and even before I got into it. First starting, my own experience, I kind of had to do what I had to do. I had to go out and see houses and show houses to clients that were, $50,000, things like that. They were pretty rough shape, and investors like that. And then maybe you get higher priced properties or things like that. But you do have to work that way, go through tougher transactions in order to make it easier. Before I got into the business, I would have friends and people. I was working all the time as a bartender and a server and things like that. And I would have friends who would want to go out and want to go on all these trips, but wouldn't want to pick up a shift on like a Tuesday night. So you have to kind of get down in the dirt and do the work that you don't want to do, so later on you can do the work that, you want to do.
This is like business 101 for me, where people, and I think the challenge is everyone feels like everything's like Amazon Prime, right? Like you're going to decide you want to do something, and then it happens the next day.
Yeah.
It's not how it works. I mean, you look at, I use health and like wellness. It's such a great anecdote to use here because, you don't just lose like 20, 30 pounds in a couple days. I mean, you can in a very unhealthy way, and that's not going to set you up for the long term. So it's not going to get you to where you want to go because you're going to gain it back. I mean, that's like documented and proven. So whether it's your career, whether it's you're working on your relationship, and you want to get to a point where things are going better between you and your partner, you've got to lay the groundwork for that. You got to lay the foundation. Same thing with your health. Same thing with a business that you're running. If you're an entrepreneur, there's things you got to do, and you got to eat some you know what until you can get to a point where you're doing what you want to do, because you have to learn from it. You have to build your business up. I mean, these things have to be built to last, and the overnight success, and it's just like real estate. Everyone looks at these quick hits in real estate. They're going to make a lot of money. That's not sustainable. That's not proven. It's proven that the longer you hold real estate, the more money you're going to make. You're not going to buy a place, flip it, and make $100,000. It just doesn't go that way. So this is about the long-term game, and I am all in on the long game. So, well, and that's that's the people that win.
Yeah.
And whatever you want to view winning as, it's the long-term game for yourself, for your relationship, for your family, whatever. So Oprah, despite not sending us cards here, she does know what she's talking about. I mean, and she did it, right? So I think she's a great example. I mean, her show was not that big of a deal, and it came on, and it built momentum. Then she was able to retire from the show, and now she has a network, an empire. She's a billionaire, and she's doing the stuff she wants to do.
I feel like people see people like Oprah, maybe not necessarily Oprah, but people like maybe Rachel Hollis or Gary Vee, or people who we talk about who are so big right now, and they're like, hey, I want to do that, or I want to be like that, and they expect to maybe put in work for like a day or something. Like, these people say it in all of their talks and things like that. This overnight success that they were talking about took like 10 years, right? So it's going to be a very long process, and I feel like a lot of people oversee that, but it's something that you should really learn to love and embrace.
Well, look, Tom Ferry's a great example, right? So he obviously we work with his company, we coach with him. He left in 2001 to start his own business. So yeah, he looks like he's been blowing up a lot lately. That's 18 years later.
Yeah.
Now, and he's obviously been more well-known since then, but that's how long it takes to get to that point. And it's a lot of hard work, and it's even harder because the steeper you climb, the more treacherous the terrain is.
You're going to have to do things that you don't want to do, so awesome.
Catch you guys next week.